Good evening and welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. Just a reminder that all meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and midnight and available for your viewing pleasure on YouTube. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance followed by silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, proclamation. Oh, my sweater.
This fell off.
Thank you. That was in case it was cold in here. It's Parks and Rec time. Yay. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right. Well, this proclamation is for Parks and Rec Month. So, whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the mental and emotional health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic environmental well-being of a community and region, they build active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally, physically disabled, and whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, and the attraction and retention of businesses and crime reduction. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wild. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure that the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the City of Leavenworth recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now there, I, for Holly Pittman, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth of Kansas, do hereby proclaim month of July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month. Yay! Here you go. And you want to tell us about all the great things that Parks and Recs are doing?
Certainly.
There's not a day I drive down Shrine Park Road and pickleball courts are not packed and the basketball courts are not packed. So tell us a little bit about that.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, for this proclamation this evening. I did write a speech. It's
Speech.
It's only about 20 minutes, though, so it'll be good. So, no, thank you for recognizing Parks and Recreation and our amenities in this town. And I, of course, invite everybody out to come out. We got plenty of places to beat the heat. We got the pool up and going, and of course the splash pad. So those are very popular right now. We do have a few functions going on in the month of July that I wanted to let you know about. So I wrote them down so I didn't get them wrong. We have the Family Dive-In movie, which is out at Wilmot Aquatic Center. That is Saturday night, July 19th. Entry starts at 9 p.m. and the movie starts at 9:30. We are showing Disney's Moana 2 this year, and tickets are $8 in advance or $10 at the door, and you can buy your tickets at the leavenworthks.gov, our City of Leavenworth website, and go to the Parks and Recreation page there. And there is a cap of 250, so I encourage folks that are planning on coming to buy ahead of time.
Is there a rain date?
There is not a rain date. It's with the rental of the movie and stuff, it's just easier. We get credit for it and we use it at a later date, probably next summer. Yeah, it's the best way to do that because they have rented for different times. Then we have the adult dive-in movie the following week. Must be 21 to enter. It is Saturday, July 26th. Again, enter at 9 p.m. Movie starts at 9:30. We are showing the movie Night Swim, so that could be quite interesting. People floating around in the dark in the pool. Again, same cost, $8 in advance and $10 at the door. And if the heat and the outdoors is not so much your thing, we do have our Christmas market in July. Admission to that is free. That is Saturday, July 12th at the Riverfront Community Center, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have 58 vendor spots, 54 of them are already spoken for. So we're going to have a lot of vendors there. And of course, it's at, like I said, it's at the community center, down in the basement on the track and in the gym. And that is air conditioned, more so than in here. So, but again, thank you for the proclamation, and I invite all the citizens to get out and enjoy our wonderful parks and amenities.
Can you bring floaties to the movie?
You can,
Okay.
yes, yep, any flotation device, and float around on inner tubes and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you, Commissioners. Thanks.
All right, old business, starting with the minutes from June 10th, 2025. I just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, move to approve the regular meeting minutes from June 2025, or June 10th, 2025.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Next up is new business. We'll start with public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. In the interest of time, we ask that groups wishing to speak limit their public comment to one presenter. This is the opportunity for the City Commission to hear the thoughts of the public prior to conducting official city business. The mayor, City Commission, and city staff have been asked not to respond to those giving public comment, and action may not be taken by the commission on public comment items. The mayor may direct staff to follow up with specific individuals after the meeting. When speaking, please state your name and your address. A sign-up sheet has been provided in the commission chambers for anyone who's wishing to speak. Sarah, did we have anybody sign up tonight?
We do, we have a couple.
right.
First up is Mary Ann Nealand.
Hello. Hi, my name is Mary Ann Nealand. I live at 113 Topeka Avenue. And it's going to seem like we're both talking about the skate park, but I promise it's two totally separate issues. Billy Nealand is the skate park expansion chairman. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I did email this to all of the commissioners, to include the mayor, ahead of time. And then we also handed out these surveys at National Go Skateboarding Day. And we have a really good mix of people who were participating, people who were beginners, people who are pro skaters, and then people who were just there to watch. And they had some questions they could answer, as well as there were lines for other, and then a few people wrote on the back as well. What Billy was trying to do was get the voice of the skaters and the voice of the people who actually use the skate park, and tell you what they want instead of what other people might perceive that we need at the skate park. And part of the assessment that you will read talks about the missed revenue that we have at our skate park. We have held contests there before, and all that money went to the main sponsor at the time, which was Elite Board Sports, which doesn't exist anymore. But they took the money, they took it in. So why aren't we, the city, having a contest out there again and having people pay to be in it and having T-shirts? But part of the big drawback to that is we don't have lights, we don't have seating, and there's no shade, there's no bathrooms for them to use. So no one's going to rent that out to have a birthday party. No one's going to want to come to our contest. And we would also like to offer up doing beginner lessons. You have this entire group of boys, some of which are sponsored skaters. They have sponsors, they were semi-pro, that would be out there to do like little mini camps, which would also generate some revenue. Not spend the night, not be there for a week, but a mini camp. That was probably the most popular thing at National Go Skateboarding Day. And we did follow up from the last meeting. We spoke with Camp Leavenworth, and the skaters will be there at Camp Leavenworth doing demos, as well as some more beginner lessons. We had 3 regular boards and 2 longboards out there, and we provided 2 helmets. But by September, we'll have some more because the helmets were popular, as well as the longboards because they're easier to balance on. So, on behalf of Billy Nealand and his committee, please look over what we worked really hard on to make our assessment, as well as the surveys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that.
right, next up is Billy Nealand.
Hi, Billy.
All right, so, hey, I'm Billy, and
Can you state your address?
113 Topeka Avenue. I guess I'm gonna start with thanking Unity in the community for donating the food for everybody for our Go Skate Day event, and everybody else that helped with that. And then we have two of our instructors here that I'd like to thank, but there was many more that I'd also like to thank. And then potentially, we're trying to get like some updates that could also bring revenue in, like the bathrooms and some water and lights and shades and such, like you had already mentioned. And basically, that's it. And then me and Justin Malto had said that we would be consultants for the skate park for any further updates so that we don't have another bowl by a construction company that doesn't even last 6 months, because that's something.
Right. I got to see that this weekend, so I do want to talk with Scott and Steve on that bowl, because it doesn't make much sense how it is now.
Yeah, so basically just want to thank you guys and potentially even look at another spot for maybe even a smaller skate park. I looked at a couple spots, and there's like that trail at Cody Park, the walking trail, and I was thinking maybe in the center of that where there's a grass pad, there's some trees there. But I was thinking maybe even another spot, and then that would already have bathrooms and everything other than lights, but it'd have all the amenities already there. So maybe that would even be cheaper than adding everything to our park, just build another park around some amenities.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for Saturday. It was fun.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
All right, and
Next.
next up is William Rogers.
William Rogers, 73rd and Leavenworth Road, Kansas City, Kansas. I want to talk about the special use permit a little bit. As we all know, CoreCivic applied for one. They agreed with the commission that they needed one. And then during communication, I believe, with the city, they decided they didn't need it. Now, why did they decide that? The only reason I can think of, and my past experience as an employee, is they don't want any oversight, nor do they want anyone outside of that facility know as little of what's going on in there. Right here I have, and I want to show you that this is just not what's in Leavenworth. This is every inmate that's died in the state of Tennessee in the last 5 years. So I took those numbers and I put them into a chart, and I broke them down by CoreCivic facilities. CoreCivic runs 4 facilities in the state of Tennessee. There's a total of 14 facilities. One's a medical facility, which would have a higher number of deaths. If you want to look at the numbers of the 4 CoreCivic ran facilities, you might be surprised how it equals out to the other 10. It's shocking, and I'm surprised that the state still allows it. Or maybe they don't want you to know that a mother will call you and tell you that she got a phone call in the middle of the night telling you her son died, and given a number, and that was it, and they've been unresponsive to her, not returned his personal items to date. And on that same incident, maybe they don't want you to have a copy of the incident report from inside the facility like I have here. Nor they may not want you to have a copy of the coroner's report that I have here of that young man's death. It was ruled a suicide. The mother doubted that very seriously, and at first I did not agree with her, but after reading the autopsy report and hearing her story, I've got to say that it definitely deserves a second look. In fact, here is her words herself. She said, "I have a guy who witnessed what happened. He said he was sitting at a table closest to son's cell. I'm not going to use names. Son came out of another pod carrying his Bible, which inmate thought was odd because it was not Bible study night. He went to his cell. There was 2 guys in his cell. He asked for a cup of water. He stood in the doorway, drank the water, then went on into the cell. He could hear them beating my baby. It stopped, then started again. Then they brought him out with a towel wrapped around his head. He could barely walk. One was in front of him and one was from behind him, and led him to the cell underneath the stairs. Finished killing him, then hung him to make it look like a suicide. This kills me to think how he suffered. They killed my baby, and I feel so helpless." Also, I'd like to note that when CoreCivic did not secure the device that he supposedly hung him with, so the coroner was unable to compare them up So I just want you to understand there's a lot of other places across the states, across the United States that CoreCivic has issues with, and I want all the people to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. All right, let's move on to general appointments. At this time, I have a appointment to the, what is it, the? Building code. Building code, I knew it. Here it is, okay. So I, Mayor Pittman, move to appoint to the Building Code Board of Appeals Michael Powell to a term ending May 1st, 2030. It does require a second and then vote. Oh, okay, we already got a second. All right, we'll begin voting with Commissioner Merton.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes 4-0. All right, Scott, the Scott Show, the presentation of the 26 operating budget. Look at that fancy font.
It's all Trevor. Okay, so thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. We have our, mostly in our operating budget, we did throw in some CIP there too at the end. Kind of just an overall update of where we are with the budget today and how it will reflect moving forward into some of the upcoming dates here. So I want to start by talking about the goals and priorities that you all set back at our goal setting session back in March. I want to make sure we're putting our money where our mouth is, where we say that this budget is going to reflect your goals and priorities. So again, just as a kind of a recap, the 6 you came up with: take an honest approach to revenue generation in the city, evaluate the future of solid waste services, evaluate the future of wastewater services, establish the priorities for economic development partners, look into digitization of citywide offices and services, and increase communication from the city to the public. So I'm going to start by talking about some of the changes we've made to or how this budget reflects that. And in some cases, it doesn't reflect the budget because we found free ways to address that. So that's always good. So we'll start with taking an honest approach to revenue generation in the city. We really sat down, especially our finance team, Roberta and her team, and they provided a revised and more conservative estimate for sales tax collection through the year 2026. Trends had continued to go against projections for the last few years, so we went back and revised that to make sure that we had a more accurate estimate of sales tax collection. We provided a reduction of spending in key areas. This was prior to addressing revenue generation in the city, because the staff wanted to do our best to cut everything that we could prior to coming to you to ask for more funding. We wanted to make sure we were as lean and mean as we could be. So we have made cuts to the vehicle lease program. I believe next year we will be spending about 60% of what we spent this last year on that program for our vehicles. We have reduced 3 positions through attrition. We do not propose, and we currently have not laid off any employees. With Colette's retirement, her position in the Public Works Department has been combined with an existing employee. We have cut 1 code enforcement officer position, as you stated during our goal setting session you were okay with. That position was already vacant. And then there's a 3rd one that is escaping me at the moment, but that's 3 positions that the city clerk's office has a vacancy that we are not filling. I want to talk about, we spent a reduction of spending at the line item level. What I mean by that is the budget team met with every single department head, and we went through their budgets line by line. Every single line item was discussed. So we genuinely believe that the proposed numbers are as low as we think we can get them without a reduction in service. And then we also put in a reduction of overtime by 10% in every department except for public safety, so fire and police. Those were reduced by 5% to ensure compliance with our services. And then no budget increase to wages or salaries to city personnel at this time. I will get into that here in a little bit. We also adjusted enterprise fees to meet the current and future demands of user-based services. So those are your trash, your sewer, things like that. Let's talk then, goal and priority number 2, evaluate future of solid waste services. You all met with us during this June 17th study session last week. Perceived to have gotten a consensus from all of you on what we ended up calling option 2.5. So in the short term, we will be adding new trucks and staff in 2026 to meet the increased capacity and demand for that service. In the near term, so the next couple of years, construct a consolidation station at the old landfill site, so closed to the public, but will be used to store solid waste until it can be delivered to a landfill. And then the long-term development master plan for future construction of a full-service transfer station. Evaluate future wastewater services. So tonight, you have approval of an update to wastewater treatment plant master plan, on tonight's agenda. So that will, if approved, that will guide us on how to construct a new facility on the existing site and how we will proceed with that. In the meantime, we have adjusted our CIP to remove the replacement of infrastructure that won't be needed in a new plant expansion. So, for example, trickling filters, those are about $2 million a pop. If you tell us to proceed with planning for a new wastewater treatment plant, which is what we recommend, then those trickling filters will not be needed in a new facility, and we will do what we can to have them scrape by for the next 8 to 10 years, but we won't spend the millions of dollars to replace them. Establish priorities for economic development partners. So we kind of have two different directions here. We plan to have more of this conversation with you during the all-day budget session, but just to let you know where we are with that, we kind of have a fork in the road and two paths we can set. The first is setting clear, measurable, but attainable goals for city's partners to meet in the coming years, and that would include frequent follow-ups to ensure goals are being met. I would call that somewhat of the status quo of where we are today with our economic development partners, other than providing actual goals that we can meet with you all to set and hold to our partners. The other option, as we've discussed, is to consider bringing economic development in-house, so to speak, and that would pull funding away from those economic development partners to fund that economic development position. Again, I will discuss that here in a little bit. Fifth goal, look into digitization of citywide offices and services. I just wanted to point out a couple of these things we're doing this year, but they directly go towards the goal that you guys are discussing or that you've wanted for us at the city. We've established the bonfire requisition system, so all of our contracts and requisitions through the city, any project that somebody does for the city goes through the bonfire system. We put RFPs out through bonfire, which is a national or even international system, so anybody who wants to bid on a project in the city can do so through bonfire, which is completely digital. Parks Recreation is switching to the Rec Desk program here shortly, so people can make reservations online, they can do programs and services online, all of that through Rec Desk. We are currently looking into a business licensing software so that businesses can handle all of their business, sorry for the pun, with the city through online systems, and we can manage it through an online database. And then finally, we've already begun the process of transitioning to Office 365, so that means Microsoft Teams, things like that. There will be more digital collaboration among staff. Then finally, increased communication from the city to the public. We've already provided you during a study session the opt-in texting service called AlertSense that the county runs. I believe Melissa and Trevor will be attending a training on that here any day now. And then also we are pursuing new social media channels to reach our younger citizens, namely TikTok and Instagram. Our animal control department has recently released a TikTok channel to help advertise their animals and things of that nature, so already moving in that direction. Any questions before I proceed?
When will the alert sense start? As soon as the training, or will we wait till 2026?
We'll be pretty much ready. The plan is to train Trevor and Melissa, and then Trevor and Melissa are going to train all of our department heads, and then we'll launch it.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I would hope by fall we'll be ready to go.
Thank you.
So I want to talk first, before we get into the changes that we made, the impacts that affected our decision in the budget that we're proposing. As we already mentioned, we have declining sales tax. In 2024, we were 1.5 mil under budget. And then in 2025, we're looking to come in at about $876,000 under budget. So it has a 2-year negative impact to reserves of $2.4 million. Which provides, again, required us to provide a more conservative forecast for 2026 sales tax collections. The somewhat silver lining is over the last couple of months, they've kind of ticked back up a little bit, so that's good, but not, still, I would still say we need to be conservative in our forecasting. We did increase wages in 2024 based on a sliding scale. The lowest paid employees were given the highest increase. Wages again increased in 2025. They were in an attempt to bring the city closer to competitive wages, but again, we're still not totally up to speed with the people we are competing with. Again, wage increases in 2024 were about 1.4 million, and in 2025 were about $500,000. Debt payoff. The city has implemented a pay-as-you-go policy for the pavement management program in 2023. As such, in 2024, we issued $4.8 million in bonds for the fire, or sorry, not as such. Additionally, we issued $4.8 million in bonds for the fire station number 3. And 2026 debt service will be $308,000 lower than 2024 due to us being aggressive with our payoffs. Those payments will continue to decline until we've paid off all of our debt as of now by 2036. So what that states is we are currently paying high amounts of debt to our debt service, but over the next few years that will dramatically lower. And so while we're in kind of a bit of a squeeze right in the next year or two, that will get a lot better as long as we make responsible decisions moving forward. And that will free up other money for our general fund. And then we are also tying into that, we subsidize our grant fund with general fund dollars. So the general fund is transferring $1 million to the grant matching fund to support $4 million in projects. Beginning in 2027, the grant matching requirements will be funded by the city sales tax fund or countywide sales tax fund, depending on which project you're paying for. Finally, the last two impacts, and they are big ones, are our insurance. Property and liability insurance increased by 25% in 2024 and projected again to increase by another 10% in 2025. And then for our health insurance, our expenses increased by 14% in 2024, expected to increase by 16% in 2025. We have not sent out the RFP yet, right? We have.
It's due on Monday.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have an RFP for property and liability insurance that's due on Monday, hoping to see what we can get out on the market and see if there's some reduced rates we can get there. We have an RFP prepared for health insurance. We have not sent it out yet, which I will discuss we sent that out too?
They went out at the same time.
Well, we have another option we're going to discuss, so that one we may throw out anyways. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, budget assumptions that we made as the budget team. 5.72%, so for the proposed budget, these are all the assumptions we made, assuming these numbers are correct. We did a 5.72 increase in assessed value, so that is directly from the county on what property taxes or property valuations will increase by. We are proposing currently, again, more to this later, a 2.3457 mil increase to the tune of $1.14 million in the general fund. We're expecting a 3% decrease in 2025 city sales tax, and then a 2% increase in 2026. Currently, again, get to this later, budgeting for 0% in raises, 2% decrease in health insurance. Again, we'll get to that later. Police officer salaries include 4 budgeted vacancies. We currently average about 6, so we think we're comfortable there. Fire department salaries include 1 budgeted vacancy. Again, we usually average 2 or 3, so we're, again, comfortable with that number. Obviously, if we, by some happenstance or good luck, manage to fill those vacancies, we will. But we're just assuming that we won't be able to. Overtime reduced by 10%, again, except for public safety, which is decreased by 5%. And secretary in fire department will work 50% of her time for the fire department and 50% of her time in other departments. Just to be clear, we're not reducing her time. She will just be spending it in other departments. Okay, so the next 4 graphs I've got for you are courtesy of our finance team. The way they go is the first 2 are going to be our revenue charts, and the very first chart will be the general fund. The second chart will be citywide. Same thing will go with the next 2 charts, which are expenditures by general fund and then expenditures citywide. So as you're looking here, general fund projecting a total revenue of $23.2 million. Obviously, as you can see, 46% of that is sales tax, 24% property tax. That's you've probably heard this every year you've been here. That's a wonky skew. The sales tax is very volatile, as we've learned over the last few years, and it becomes very difficult to rely on that as a primary source of our revenue. So citywide revenue, again, we're looking at we're looking at $54.5 million in total revenue. As you see that, the sales tax shrinks a little bit when you're not talking about general fund, but still takes up over a third of your your pie. Property taxes only account for 18%. And then your intergovernmental fees and charges for services make up the larger slices there. So those are your user fees, your permits, your all that kind of stuff.
What's it saying green? Above property tax.
Above property tax, where are we? Oh, intergovernmental, yeah. All right, here we have expenditures, general fund first, make sure, nope, I reversed them, sorry. General fund first here, ignore the title, I'll change those. We've got 24 million in total expenditures there. Again, police and fire about 26%. And then, yeah, okay. So then finally, expenditures citywide, again, ignore the title there, that's a typo. You're looking at $62.5 total million in expenditures for the city. Capital projects take up a quarter of that, and then police another 16%. Again, I mean, this is I would call this a pretty standard division of payments for a city this size. Wanted to take a minute to talk about reserves. We know there's a lot out there on what the city actually has and doesn't have, and we wanted to clear it up and allow people to understand what the city's policy is on that and how we work towards it. So the city's policy is to maintain a minimum of 16% of its annual expenses, but target a reserve of 30. As of June 24th, 2025, we currently have a cash position investment of $36.6 million. But as we will get into that, we don't actually have $36.6 million. $12 million is in encumbrances. So those are projects that we've already placed orders on. That's fire station number 3, that's 2 fire trucks, that's the street maintenance program, things like that we've already assigned $12 million out of that $36 million to pay for. So that leaves $24.6 million in unencumbered cash, but as you will see, that continues to go down over the next couple of years. Oh, sorry, I'll also add, so as you see, the percentage of our reserve position is gradually going down and quickly, 34 to 28 to 22. And these charts will kind of help you show that as well. So I have these charts here, you can review them later. I just want to focus on the big numbers there that you'll see. 2024 in the bottom right, total reserves of $26.2 million. 2025, total reserves of $23.3 million. And projected by the end of 2026, $16 million. So we're going in the wrong direction. It is our hope there, and our proposed budget will address this, is to kind of staunch the bleeding. We are not at the point where we need to completely reverse course, but we need to kind of pull up. And so our budget kind of, I think, eases the slide and then helps us move back upwards in the right direction so we can put more money into reserves into the next few years. Again, that we will be significantly helped out by paying off our debt in the next few years. So just a quick overview of the CIP, again, represents a 5-year planning horizon. We get our funding sources from that, from a quarter of the city's local sales tax, the city's portion of the countywide sales tax, and additional enterprise funds. Projects remain in unscheduled status, so we do have projects that are on the list that aren't actually scheduled to be constructed. We had already discussed that with the Wilson Avenue that we had briefly taken off, but we put back on and will be constructed next year. There we go. Projects moved from unscheduled 2026 CIP include the Wilson Avenue Street, Cody Park baseball court lights, and then some unscheduled projects that are still on the unscheduled list that will need to be addressed in the coming years. A police department firearm training range, the new wastewater treatment plant is unscheduled, various vehicles and equipment such as up to and including 6 fire apparatuses. So that's a lot of money that will need to be accounted for in the future years. So let's talk about the future of solid waste. Again, this is just a recap of our discussion last week in addressing one of your key priorities. We went ahead and added 2 additional trucks and 3 additional collectors for next year. That is reflected in this budget. And then we are proceeding with the option 2.5, so to speak, which we will plan for a future consolidation station, and then also do a master plan for a transfer station. So a quick recap of EcoDevo and where we are with that. Gaining new jobs and businesses will expand our tax base to find current and emerging city needs. Currently, we partner with Main Street and LCDC for the core of our economic growth. Activity and results have been less than expected for several years. I think we are all in conclusion that we need to see a higher return on investment, and I think we're just waiting on a consensus from the commission on how you'd like us to proceed there. The budget does include $125,303 to be distributed between Main Street and LCDC. This is the same as we gave them in 2025. We did not recommend an increase at this time. Staff drafting performance expectations as we speak to ensure value for those funds. So when I spoke about having clear set goals that we could meet with them regularly to evaluate progress, that's what I was referring to. So, as we talked, we're kind of at a fork where we're looking for some consensus. Don't need it tonight, just bringing this information to you for a decision later. City could hire what's called an economic development director, utilizing so you could pull the funding from LCDC and Main Street to pay for that a portion of that salary. Could cover small business development and large business recruitment. It would require additional economic development funds. We do have so let me get into how much they would cost. We think a total annual cost for an employee of this type would be about $155,000. That includes benefits, travel, marketing, all of that. And that's not just the salary. Now, a couple of factors to consider here. We do have the money to afford that employee in our economic development fund. It would leave about $150,000 a year in unspent revenue to be used towards economic development projects. We also have about $1 million saved in the economic development fund that could again be used towards some of those projects. It is with the caveat that, as you all know, that money gets spent very quickly if a project actually comes up. Right. So if you do hire an economic development internally, you are going to be squeezing the amount of, pretty quickly squeezing the amount of money you have available for industrial incentives. It is affordable, you can do it, we have the money to do it. Just know that the price you would be paying for that, bringing all that internally, is shrinking your economic development dollars. Really just, we're gonna have the city commission tell us how you'd like to proceed in a future meeting, and we'd be happy to give you a recommendation too. So, I mentioned healthcare, that we had discovered a possible solution that would help everything. That's called the State Employee Health Plan, SEHP. It is a self-insured program that's governed by the Kansas State Employees Healthcare Commission. It would provide two healthcare providers for employees to choose from, so each employee could make a decision on which provider they wanted based on their network. It does have FSA and HSA options, apologize for the typo. Also includes dental and vision. The optional benefits like cancer, accident, life, short-term, et cetera, could still be provided by the city on a voluntary basis per employee like we currently do. It's a 3-year contract length, and you have to have at least 70% employee participation among eligible employees. And the caveat to this mainly is the reason we haven't flipped the switch yet is that we have to be approved by the Healthcare Commission, and we are currently awaiting approval, but we have already submitted for approval. We don't have to take it if we don't want, but you have to be approved to take it. So let's talk about why we're considering this. How much will the city save? The preliminary estimate is the city could save up to $1.3 million annually by switching to this health insurance plan. If we do that, then the proposed budget adjustment would add $850,000 to the general fund in savings. If done that way, the staff would propose splitting that between pay increases and reducing the increase to the mill levy. So instead of a 2.37 mill increase that we were recommending, that would drop it to a 1.3457 recommended mill increase, so just drop by 1 mill. We could then also afford potentially 3% raises across the board to the city staff, and we do plan on bringing you some options there at the all-day budget meeting. You You could either just pay non-department heads, or you could pay non-department heads more and department heads less. We'll provide you options for that if you're considering pay increases. And then it would also, in the meantime, lower the general fund operating deficit from $342,000 to $218,000. We will bring this plan to you, if we get approved, we'll bring it to you for further approval. We just wanted you all to know we are considering it, and if we get approved and we go through with it and you guys are all okay with it, it would provide a significant relief to our budget. Significant.
When will we find out? How long does it take?
I think we're waiting any day now, my understanding. Lana is waiting on them to get back to her. So we've done what we can so far.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. And there are some other organizations in the area. Riley County uses it. It appears to be well liked by employees. Hopefully this will all work out. So just a note that our budget may change pretty dramatically here in the next few weeks. So then my last slide, just some key dates to remind you all of. July 3rd next week, that's Thursday. Maybe earlier, but we're setting July 3rd just to be safe. Your budget books will be ready for pickup. July 14th is an all-day budget meeting, so come dressed comfortably. July 15th, again, is City Commission study session for a final study session with you all. July 20th, the city has to notify the county clerk of our intent to exceed revenue neutral, which our proposed budget would do. August 5th, publish notice of hearing to exceed revenue neutral and adopt the budget. Again, that's just publishing notice of the hearing. August 26th is the actual hearing to exceed revenue neutral and adopt the budget. And then September 15th would be the final adopted budget forwarded to the county clerk. Got that done in 25 minutes. You
No,
Wow.
that was good, Scott.
guys have any questions?
Yes, Commission, do you have questions? Griff?
Yeah, just real quick. So Scott, you were talking about, I don't know what slide number this is, but you said potentially you're assuming a 2% decrease in health insurance costs for 2026. And that is because of the,
That is
state-
because of the RFP that's currently out. If we go to the state plan, it would reduce by much more than that.
okay, gotcha. And I have never asked this question, Scott, how does our insurance broker get compensated as we put these RFPs out?
Do you know the answer to that?
So my understanding on health insurance is they are paid directly by that provider, like it's a per person cost that's signed up. So it is not a bill we necessarily pay. For insurance, it's typically commission-based, for property and liability through the providers as well.
Okay, thank you.
Have anything to think about? What to
Yeah.
review?
I thought I read a question down, but maybe I didn't. I'm going back through.
Well, I will say, I know you said you're gonna take a kind of a different approach this year, and I like how you've laid everything out. I really do. It's just a different way to digest the information.
Sure.
So, and we think we're gonna need 6 new fire trucks over the next
Over the
4.5
next,
years?
how many years?
4.5 years?
No, 15 to 20 years.
Okay, I was just grouping that in with that
Yeah.
26 to 2030, okay.
But
like-
Gary would
Like,
punch
where
me
was
next
that
time
at?
he saw me if I did.
No, I was like,
If I did,
Yeah, it's a lot of
yeah.
trucks for the next.
If I didn't mention, it takes 3 or 4 years to get a truck once you order it. So it is important that once, we need to be preparing to order a truck 3 or 4 years before we need to replace it. And if you do that, then you need to account for that money. So you can't order it and then spend that money somewhere else. By law, you have to have that money accounted for the next 4 years until that truck is delivered.
and when you talked about, Scott, the personnel changes and everything, there's not gonna be any layoffs, but the code enforcement officer was included in that, is that right?
That is correct, but it was not a layoff. That was a vacant position.
Correct, yep, okay, just wanna make sure.
When you talked about the economic development options, the estimated expenses is $155,000. I know that would be going out, but tell me some benefits of, you said that the money would go down every year, but wouldn't we be bringing, if they did their job, would we be bringing anything? What would be a benefit of?
Ideally, they would be, yes. You're counting on them to do that. I guess if the status quo is nothing changes, then you have to assume the cost of, you're gonna lose that money in the short term. Now, yes, hopefully, they bring in that much and way more by doing their job, yes.
But sometimes that takes 2 or 3 years before you can get to that point.
Or longer.
Oh, 100%, oh, yeah. Nancy, I know we talked about this, I don't know, a few weeks ago, probably a couple months ago. I definitely was not a proponent of keeping funds the same as they were for Main Street, because this is the year that we bumped it up, I think like 20 grand, wasn't it? Or what was it, 16? I can't remember, 38 to 54. It was like 16. So anyway, I don't know. I would definitely be in favor of reducing that again and then putting stipulations if we were to increase it next time, what those guidelines are and what we need to see stipulations before we raise it again. Just a thought that's out there. But we didn't really, I don't think, decide on anything. We're just kind of talked about it. So.
We absolutely plan on having a more in-depth conversation during that all-day budget meeting.
We need to do that on that. Yeah, that's a tough subject there.
Yep.
Okay,
Any other questions right now?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bids, contracts, and agreements. First up is consider award of contract for wastewater treatment plant master plan update.
You need the laptop.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The item this evening is to review the scope of services and possible contract award for updating our wastewater treatment plant master plan. Tonight, Mr. John Keller with Black & Veatch is here to help answer any questions that you may have. The city's current wastewater treatment plant is approaching the end of its operational life, and upcoming regulatory requirements will likely not be obtainable with our existing trickling filters. An updated master plan is needed to, one, determine what type of treatment that will be most cost-effective while meeting our discharge limits, and two, define the layout for an updated plant and what components of the existing plant can be reused. This will help ensure the City of Leavenworth continues to meet current and future state and federal requirements and provide sufficient capacity to support residential, commercial, and industrial growth. While the update to the master plan will define a proposed plant layout, it does not include a detailed design. That would be the next step at some point in the future. The city's current permit expires in February of 2028. Permits are typically valid for 5 years, so the next permit would likely cover the period 2028 to 2033. It is likely that the city may need a new plant online by the end of that cycle. Black & Veatch designed the upgrades to the old facility back in the 1970s, performed the 2010 master plan updates, and designed the UV disinfection system that was constructed in 2012. The scope of this study includes evaluating the capacity of the existing wastewater treatment facility to meet discharge requirements and recommend improvements moving forward. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment, or KDHE, has issued a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit with suggested changes in operation and construction improvements to maximize the level of nutrient removal with the intent of achieving future biological nutrient removal goals. Funding for this project is from our Sewer Reserve Fund. Black & Veatch did round down the fee since the policy report was provided. Actual fee for this project is $370,000. Staff recommends the City Commission authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Black & Veatch in a not-to-exceed amount of $370,000 for the 2025 wastewater treatment plant master plan update. And John and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
It is pretty self-explanatory, what I've read. Project description.
One quick question. So with what KDHE did, any rough idea on how many dollars that's even going to cost us going forward because they've raised their goals?
Well, we have, for a new plant, we're looking at around, I think it's roughly 120 million.
120. That's correct.
Based off of the new requirements, though? I mean, that's a combination of things, right? But,
It's a combination. We'd be replacing components and structures that are currently there that have just outlived its useful life.
waiting to go,
You
yeah.
know, if it was 10 years old, we might be able to reuse a lot of that. And part of this project that we're doing is they're evaluating what's in our CIP to see, hey, you keep that going or that's got to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can't directly answer your question until we have the plan in place. I think, because it's not, all 120 million could not be associated to KDHE, but moving to a new treatment system, whatever that, because trickling filters are no longer considered the acceptable standard or whatever that portion of it would be, you could argue would be as a result of new requirements. But we would be spending $100 million probably anyways, building a new treatment or trickling filter system, just replacing that stuff.
And do we have any idea what could be attainable from the state and, as far as any state dollars?
I mean, I think there's some low interest rate grants for this type of thing we can do.
We are going to work, if you guys ask, or instruct us to proceed with this, we're gonna work as hard as we can to get as much funding as we can from any source we can.
Yeah,
So,
we've got some that we
yeah.
talked with when we went to our trip to DC.
Yeah, so there's a DCIP, Defense Community Grant that is very promising. As Brian mentioned, they provide low interest loans, like 1-2% for projects like this. So we'll find a way to kind of piece it together as best we can.
Okay, thank you.
When we went to DC, they were actually really impressed that we were talking about this because we don't need it. They said most people come to them and they needed it yesterday. They were pretty impressed that we were planning for the future and letting people know what we're going to need ahead of time. So I applaud the staff for doing that, for getting this all together.
And when you say some money could be available, like any idea, like,
Well, I don't jinx it and say it out loud.
It would be.
no, but I mean, I think it's important,
Yeah, I mean, it probably what, 5?
I think it was like 20 million or
Yeah.
something like that,
Okay.
It helps. It's not enough to.
It's not the whole.
Right. But another portion of the project, the reason we're asking them to do this is, as Brian mentioned, those pieces of equipment that we wouldn't need to replace, that we've scheduled to replace in our CIP, we would hold that money back and use as down payment to lower the cost of the facility.
okay.
So and again, then as Mayor Pittman mentioned, we're planning this for 8 to 10 years from now. So that way, we can work really diligently to get as much funding as we can assigned to it.
Yeah, for sure.
But also kind of prepare the ramp up so that the city and the consumers and our residents can be prepared for it. And we, information campaigns, all of that, so nobody feels like we're just throwing it on their laps. They know it's coming.
Good time to be a director of public works, huh?
Ed, do you have any questions?
No,
All right.
No.
All right.
thank
Well,
you.
Thank you. Wait.
I
We
move,
need a motion to
Yeah.
approve the plan?
Work contract.
What contract?
Yeah, contract.
I move authorization of mayor to sign a contract with Black and Veatch not to exceed $370,019 for the 2025 wastewater treatment plant master plan update.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. We'll start voting with Commissioner Henry.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
It's impressive you did the one in the 1970s and now you're still in business doing it again.
That is correct.
Black and Beach isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, next up is consider the award for bid for the CDBG sidewalk improvement project.
Again, thank you, Madam Mayor and Commission. This item is to consider bids received for the sidewalk project on Kiowa Street. This project is part of the ongoing sidewalk repair and replacement work partially funded by the city's portion of the countywide sales tax. For 2025, funding is available to complete the section of sidewalk on Kiowa from 4th to 2nd. In addition to dedicated sidewalk funding, community development is providing CDBG funding to assist with the project. CDBG funding is subject to satisfying a number of requirements from HUD. This has been accomplished. Results of the environmental review reveal that the northern long-eared bat is a threatened endangered species. United States Fish and Wildlife Service Kansas Ecological Services Field Office reviewed the project and recommends that any tree clearing take place outside of June and July due to the pup rearing season for the northern long-eared bat. The project plans were prepared by city staff and the project was advertised for bid in the Leavenworth Times and on our bonfire platform. Bids were accepted on June 13th and the bid results are shown in the table in your policy report. We had 3 bidders and Baker Construction from here in Leavenworth, Kansas was low. They have completed a number of projects for the city over the years. The sidewalk improvements are expected to begin no later than July 21st, with completion within 30 calendar days. The project does consist of new ADA compliant ramps, sidewalks, curbs, and drive entrances along the north and south sides of Kiowa from 4th east to 2nd. An inspection will be done by city staff. We're not replacing all the sidewalk and all the curbs, we're just replacing the ones that need to be to satisfy ADA. The total project cost is $96,737.50. There is CDBG funding in the amount of $82,637. That will cover most of the project, with the remaining funding coming from our Streets Capital Projects Fund, the annual sidewalk program. The staff does recommend the City Commission approve the qualified low bid from Baker Construction in the amount of $96,737.50. And be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
No questions.
Take a
Pretty
motion.
straightforward.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the qualified low bid submitted by Baker Construction for the 2025 CDBG sidewalk improvements project on Kiowa Street between 4th Street and 2nd Street in the amount of $96,737.50.
Second.
All right, motion's made second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. All right, the WPC aeration basin blower replacement.
Tim coming up this evening, our wastewater plant superintendent. This item is the removal and replacement of 2 Hoffman blowers for the grit removal system. Water pollution control plant grit removal system is supported by 3 Hoffman blowers and motors that were originally installed in the 1970s. Over the years, these units have been periodically rebuilt to extend their service life. However, due to their age and decreasing reliability, replacement of this equipment is now necessary to ensure continued operational efficiency and to reduce the risk of unplanned failures. The grit removal process is a critical component of wastewater treatment, as it removes abrasive materials such as sand, gravel, and other inorganic particles from the inflows. If not effectively removed, the grit can cause significant damage to downstream systems, including wearing out pump impellers, plugging pumps, and reducing the efficiency of our treatment. As part of the CIP, funding was allocated for the replacement of the aging blower units. Staff used the bonfire platform, requesting quotations for the removal and replacements of 1, 2, and all 3. We gave them options. Only one response was received, and that was from JCI. Upon review, staff determined the cost associated with replacing 2 of the 3 blower units falls within the available CIP. Therefore, proceeding with replacement of 2 blowers at this time is recommended, and with potential consideration for a 3rd unit in a future budget cycle. There was a $150,000 earmarked in the CIP. The funding is designated to cover the costs associated with these old blowers, including equipment procurement, removal, and installation. Staff does recommend the City Commission approve the quote for the removal and replacement of 2 of the 3 blowers at a cost of $137,722 from JCI Industries. And Tim and I can answer any questions you may have.
That 150,000, was that to replace all 3 of them, or just to replace?
I think that was the hope, but
Yeah, that was the hope, but as the price came up, it would be over that to do all 3 of them at this time.
Okay.
Can we take these with us to the new station?
I'm sorry,
Can we take these with us when we build our new plant?
probably.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
No other question?
What is considered the normal life cycle for these Hoffman blowers? You said they were rebuilt a number of times. I mean, they were put in, what, in the 70s?
You know the last time.
Had they already,
Yeah, they've outlived their lifespan.
yeah, so like 2 or 3 times over?
Yes.
Yeah, they're older than me. Okay, well, any other questions? All right, I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the quote for the removal and replacement of 2 blowers and motors at a cost not to exceed $137,722 from JCI Industries.
Second.
right, motion made second and begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes 4-0. All right, next up is the raw sewage basement pump room or painting project.
Feel sorry for those guys.
Have they actually come out to bid it, see where they're gonna be working?
Actually,
He
yes,
did?
yeah, it did.
They did.
This item, like you mentioned, is to consider a contract for sandblasting and repainting of the raw sewage basement pump room. The raw sewage basement houses critical infrastructure, including pipes, pumps, and valves that are essential to the operation of our plant. Many of these components have been in service for decades, and protective coatings applied in the past have deteriorated significantly over time due to the harsh, high moist environment typical in this area. In recent years, ongoing maintenance work, particularly the repair and replacement of pumps and valves, has further exposed uncoated or partially coated metal surfaces. Unprotected areas have begun to show signs of corrosion and rust. This affects both the structural integrity as well as poses operational risk if left unaddressed. To restore these and protect these components, sandblasting and repainting of the affected pipes, pumps, and valves is required. City staff used the bonfire platform to advertise this bid, and 2 quotes were received. Genesis Environmental out of Blue Springs, Missouri, was at $54,136. They came out to the site and reviewed everything. The other firm, TMI, is out of St. Paul, Minnesota, and they're at $98,780. Funding will be from the wastewater plant's budget. Staff does recommend the quote from Genesis Environmental for $54,136. And Tim would be happy to answer your questions on that.
Will the pumping station be able to continue operating while it's being sandblasted
Oh,
and
yeah,
repainted?
yeah, yes. Yep.
It's not going to cause any problems to any of the
I
mechanical?
mean, if we have to, there's 6 pumps, so we can switch pumps with, while they paint. So it shouldn't cause any problems at all.
Any other questions?
No?
Entertain a motion.
I move approval of the quote for sandblasting and painting of the raw sewage pumping station basement, not to exceed $54,136 from Genesis Environmental Solutions.
Second.
Second, yep.
All right. Motion's made second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda, Commissioner Martin.
Yep, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the claims for June 6, 2025 through June 19, 2025 in the amount of $1,675,720.11. Net amount for payroll number 12 effective June 13, 2025 in the amount of $442,174.59. No police and fire pension.
Second.
All right, motion's been made second. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. All right, Scott, do you have anything for us tonight?
Only thing I will say is for those who are interested, that PowerPoint presentation will be on the website available for anybody tomorrow, pending a couple of typo changes that I noticed while I was talking. Once we get those changes made, it will be available on the website for the general public to look at and use to their heart's content. I think that's all that I have.
Commissioner Hengela?
4th of July is coming.
Yes.
I'd remind everybody that shooting off fireworks in the city of Leavenworth is illegal, but I would hope that everybody will have a safe 4th of July. There's a great fireworks show done by Fort Leavenworth every year. I go out there. I know exactly where to go and sit to enjoy it immensely. And so I hope everybody will go out there, have a very safe and happy 4th of July coming up.
Thank you. Commissioner? Mayor Pro Tem, I should say.
Yeah, I don't have anything except that I've been going to the pool for water walking and I love it. It's nice. And it's nice and cool there, so everybody keep cool during this heat.
Probably good on your knee.
It's good on my knee, yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Nothing to add. Hope everybody has a blessed week.
Awesome. I have 2 things. The first one, kind of wanted to get some input from the other commissioners. We've had 2 previous mayors who have passed recently. One, Murphy, Mr. Murphy.
Jim Murphy.
And the other one was Mr. Weeks. Was thinking I've kind of been brainstorming, and I know I bugged Sarah and Scott about this, but could we potentially plant trees in their names? I know that we have a tree program. The family has kind of reached out to see, but I don't know what else other to do, because we don't have you can't read a proclamation, like what can we do?
You absolutely can plant trees. I mean, if it's on city property, we can do what we want with it, however you want to do that.
Just be able to label it and that, I think
Yeah.
it'd be a good idea,
Does anybody else have any other thoughts?
as
Well,
long as it's been
we-
coordinated with the family,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we don't have a big plaque with the names of every former mayor.
No, we don't, but
And we
I just
don't
only
want
know,
that.
because I just know the one family, I know personally reached out, and they sent a photo of a ribbon cutting of the river walk.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe we could plant it on the river walk, a tree, if there's space.
As long as it's on city property.
Okay, all right. And the next thing is, I got questions about the air conditioning at the RCCP, the Hollywood Theater. Can you give me an update on what's going on? It's out, I think. Steve left, okay.
I've not heard anything about
Okay.
that. I'll have to look into it, but I will. I can
Okay.
update you tomorrow.
I know it's old, so
Yeah.
I was wondering what we were gonna do with that. Okay.
It may
I
just be
thought we just
unable to,
replaced HVAC over
Yeah,
there.
the air conditioning is not old.
it may just be unable to keep up with the heat. I don't know, but I'll look into it.
Oh,
Get
We
back to you.
did, we did.
It was like
we were-
last year or the year before.
Yeah, yeah, we just replaced that.
okay. All right, well,
Okay.
we'll find out. All right, well, that's all I have. Have a happy 4th of July and have a great week and stay cool. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, all in favor,
Second.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye.